talk about the NBA draft lottery. So before we get into it, I'm just going to go through the order. For the audio-only listeners, Keith is already grinding his gears. As you guys know, the Kings did land the number 7 overall pick. So the order goes as stated. Washington Wizards, number 1 pick. Utah Jazz at 2. Memphis Grizzlies at 3. Chicago Bulls for 4. Los Angeles Clippers 5 via the worst trade in NBA history with the Indiana Pacers. Brooklyn Nets at 6. Sacramento Kings 7. Hawks 8. Mavericks 9. Bucks 10. Warriors 11. Thunder 12. Heat 13 and Hornets 14. So, Toddy, I'm going to swing it to you first. What are your overall reactions to the lottery? How do you think things are going to fall out? I know a lot of things are going to change from today and the actual draft day. You know, Giannis is now on the market. So, what are just your overall thoughts on how the draft lottery is going to impact next season?
I thought the draft lottery was pretty insane for how little coverage I thought it got, because it was the same day as the Knicks Sixers playoff game. So I thought it deserved a little bit more coverage. They kind of like squeezed it in on the same day as that and kind of meshed them together. I think the Wizards are in prime position to do something crazy. If they're able to get really good production from Trae Young, he's averaged 26 and 12 for how many seasons now? Anthony Davis is the biggest what if the last couple of seasons. If he's able to get you what he's getting you, then that'll be good. And you add an AJ DeBonsa to that lineup, or Darren Peterson to that lineup, it would be. I think they could be a playoff team just going into next season. The East is just whatever it is now. I think with that particular lineup, I think the Wizards can be like a top whatever seed in the East. I think Chicago kind of lucked up, just coming from the depths of Hades. Them getting a top 4 pick, they are somehow saved. They just fired their head coach, and they're in Caleb Wilson. That's gonna make me just, it grinds my gears when teams like that are able to just get rewarded in a sense. You look at teams like Brooklyn, who basically just punted on the entire season, and they are not even picking in the top 5. Kings fans are very, very upset. I don't know why. Because you guys can still kind of wiggle at 7. Now, I don't know if you guys are going to move up or stick and pick, but I do think I think the worst kept secret is the Kings want Darius Acuff. I think he's a guy that could potentially fall to 7, but at the same time, you're looking at it. His offensive game was so prominent last year, especially in the NCAA tournament, that he might not make it out of the top 5. And I think there's a bunch of – I think the Clippers could be willing to listen at offers with a desperate team like the Sacramento Kings. And I do think the Kings got to do something if they want to, I think, swing big in this draft. At the same time, it's very, very tough when you are paying the luxury tax and you're a lottery team. It's so ass backwards. it's very ass backwards. But I'm very excited to see, because everybody was really, really headstrong on being in the top 4. But I do think there's a lot of really good players outside of that, like guys like Michael Brown, Wagler, Acuff, Koa Pete. There's a bunch of really good guys outside of that range. But I think those 4 guys are like franchise-changing players, and that's kind of what everybody's really, really bummed out about. But at the same time, I still think there's a lot of really good players in this draft.
Keith, what are your thoughts on the NBA lottery?
To quote the intro music to Family Matters, it's a rare condition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. I'm going to paint you guys a picture for how my weekend went in Sacramento, because there's a bigger picture to this story leading into the lottery on Sunday. I go into Sacramento on Friday, and I have a ball. I'm hitting every spot because I rarely come back anymore. McCooney's, I hit that. Jack's Urban Eats, I hit that. I'm everywhere. I get to go up to the Sawyer, Revival at the Sawyer, and I'm poolside at 12 p.m. Sun shining. I'm out by the pool. I got no business being in that place. It's out of my tax bracket, but I'm there. And if I'm there, I'm there. So I'm golden, right? I go downstairs and I look out into the lobby where they have like the, I guess you could say the valet, so to speak. Who do I see? I see Devon Davis, videographer for the Sacramento Kings, and I see the Deuce Mason, the Beacon himself. And Deuce is getting ready to go to Chicago because he's the media representative for the Kings. And we're talking, and Devon's like, what pick do you think they're going to get to Deuce? And we're thinking top 4, right? Because we're 5, and you got to play the odds. We did it the right way. We didn't tank. We just sucked. We just sucked, man. So, like, you know, I thought karma was on our side. Now, if you remember distinctly, during the pre-lottery, there's a pre-lottery to this thing. They pan to the ping pong balls and the board or whatever. And keep in mind, the media representatives had already known the order. They already picked. And who should be on the screen, Kev, Todd? This is Deuce Mason. And I saw Deuce's face look into the camera. He ain't look happy. And that's when I knew kind of we were screwed. And we were, man. To see that ball come up 7, Mark Tatum open that envelope, number 7, oh, it crushed my soul. It crushed my soul. But it couldn't have been worse, gentlemen, than the Indiana Pacers fans who thought that they could get in the top 4 if Tyrese Halliburton could come back off the Achilles from a finals berth. And they could get somebody to pair Tyrese Halliburton. They'd be golden. And they had to watch that envelope open and get 5, which means they get nothing. Why? Because they traded it for Zubac to the Clippers.
He's got to be Shaq now.
And then the GM had to come out and say, I apologize. This is not the way I imagined it was going to go. Yeah, you think? On a serious note, after all that settled, I'm really optimistic because I really do feel like Toddy mentioned. There's a group of guards at that 5 to 7 range that I think can make an impact in different ways. I like Acuff. I am very worried about the defense with Acuff because as we've seen with Harden and Luka, it's cool to have a great score, but if one of your best players is a defensive traffic cone, that's a big problem. I would be more inclined as it stands right now, and I know Fleming's had a great combine, the measurables. He was the highest rated jumper as far as like elevation, vertical leap out of all the guards of the combine. I think he clocked like 40.5, which is insane. I watched Keaton Vogler in the tournament put on a show in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and the semifinal and the Final 4. And the one thing I liked was he refused to let them lose. He kept playing, kept competing. He's not a true point guard. They play him at the 2, but he's got a great handle for the basketball. My only concern would be, are the Kings going to want to go that route again? Because we still have Clifford off the rookie campaign, and he's going to be more aligned to slot it in at the 2. I think whoever they take is probably going to be a point guard. But it'll be interesting to see if a team in the same division, like let's say LA, they like somebody and we try to do a little swap with the 5 and the 7 and we try to unload one of these bad contracts or whatever to move up. But again, if we're the ones moving up, we're going to be giving up more. And I just don't like the idea of first draft in for Scott Perry going all in on a player. And look, Vogler's going to be good, I believe. I think Acuff's got his intangibles. But again, Boozer, Wilson, Peterson, and DeBonsa, after those 4, there's kind of like a tail off. I don't know if you want to give up so much to get one of those second-tier guys, but this is exactly why. For all the heartbreak we endured as fans watching that, this is why all the people who say it's not right to have a lottery, they need to just do it based off the worst team first. No, this is exactly why. Because regardless, Kev, if it was another dagger in the heart to us, you have to admit, my guy, it was, without a doubt, the most exciting, exhilarating, heartbreaking, heart-pounding half hour that you watched, because that Knicks game wasn't anything worth a damn. Everybody that loves the game of basketball was glued to that thing, regardless if your team made out great or not. They'll never get rid of the lottery because it's still one of the most exciting events in NBA has to offer. There's, collusion, and there's tales of corruption, and there's all these conspiracy theories. It just makes for great entertainment for the league. And again, if these teams are going to be on that BS trying to tank the way they do, Adam Silver, we've tweaked it a little bit. He's not getting rid of that lottery anytime soon. Even though the Kings have always broke my heart, I'm still pro lottery.
Keith, I want you to hear what I'm saying, not with your heart. I want you to think it. I want you to put your basketball mind on, okay? You said it. It goes top 4, then it goes tier 2. I told Toddy I figured it out. I crunched the numbers, and I have a way for us to come out of here successful. We trade the number 7 overall pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and we drop back to 12, and we get AJ Mitchell, right? There's no guarantee that these guards are going to be anything. We know what AJ Mitchell is today, May 12th. We know what AJ Mitchell is. Second round contract, 2 more years on his deal. He's a cheap deal, right? And we trade back, and we're also able to get a Koa Pete, a Nate Ament, a Brandon Burries. We're still able, in that 12 range, we're still able to get one of those tier 2 guards. We have not had the best history with guards. We've drafted 4 over the last 9 years. 1 is on our team. 3 of them are starters on other teams. We saw that. We brought in, I keep forgetting his name, and I should have really looked him up. The guy from France that we signed to a 2-year contract. We brought in
Hayes.
Russ.
Got Hayes.
Killian Hayes. We brought in Russ, and we have Devin Carter. We have a logjam in damn near every position. Let's let this point guard thing run its course for 1 more year, because what we saw out of Killian and what we saw out of Devin Carter late into the season, and Russell Westbrook showed that he can still be a starting point guard. We're not in a position to where we need to go all in. AJ Mitchell will be a foundational piece, because after this time next year, we won't have a Sabonis, or we won't have a Zach LaVine. We won't have a DeMar DeRozan. So this team is going to open up. And to start with a guy like AJ Mitchell will take us a long way. And yes, does not picking in the top 4 suck? Of course. But with the new lottery rules, we can pick in the top 4 for the next 2 years and be okay. So as a team that is starting to rebuild, I want to take the Oklahoma City model. Let's pour into 1 to 2 guys and just let them play. Those 2 guys being AJ Mitchell and Keegan Murray. I get it. We can bring in a guard, but this guard's not going to be able to flourish with a Sabonis, with a DeMar, with a Zach LaVine. AJ Mitchell's played with other guys, and he's flourished. I think AJ Mitchell is what the Sacramento Kings need. Is that a very high asking price? The 7th overall pick? Yes. But AJ Mitchell is going to be that. And maybe we can get another one of those lottery picks that don't play. I don't think AJ Mitchell for 7 is crazy, but I do think Scott Perry's going to say, I need something else, which is fine. They have a magnitude of riches. If we can get AJ Mitchell in a future first from anybody, that's good business. We need to stop saying, let's go all in to be the 10th seed. Let's just be bad, but give the fans something to watch. So that's how I think we should take this. What do you think about that?
The problem was all year with the Kings was that we were still trying to be competitive. What drove me crazy was all the fans who were like, oh, for the love of the game, you got to compete every night. I want to see my team go out and compete. Yeah, you say that now in January, and then you're mad in March and April and May, eventually when we lose and get the 7th pick. Like, does anybody register the fact that they won at least 2 or 3 games in March that screwed them out of the top 4? Congratulations. You played like the 96 Bulls in March. Now you're picking 7th in a generational draft. Like, and that's just what drove me crazy, man. And I have always felt this year they should have been playing, especially with Sabonis hurt and Levine on his BS. They should have invested in the young guys. Now they got lucky. They got lucky because big fella from Stanford, he looks like he's going to be a great player. Okay, what's his name, Kev? I can't believe I'm missing his name right now.
Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks like he's gonna.
We know
he
what
looks
you're
like,
talking
yeah, he looks like he's gonna be a player, and I like Cardwell. So they kind of got lucky. They got some building blocks, maybe they can build on, and I like the steps that Clifford took. But again, this is why they should have been playing the young guys from the start, because all the people that I would talk to would be like, well, we don't know what they're gonna be. Well, hell, man, you won't know if you don't play them. So why don't we just get this out of the way now? Because we're not going to the playoffs. We were going to be one of the worst teams regardless, but they should have been trying to tank from the word go. And then they won 3 or 4 games in March. And here we are now looking at the second tier of guys. But again, as we've seen, we had the second pick many moons ago. We messed that up. We had a 7th pick and we drafted Ben McLemore. We messed that up. Okay. So it's not just about where you're picking. You got to get the pick right. That's half the battle. If you can't get the other half right, at least get the other half right.
Definitely. And Toddy, I think you're the perfect person to answer this question. How about trading up for Caleb Wilson?
I love that Uncle Manny asked this question. I wanted to ask you guys, is there a scenario that the Kings trade into a top 4 spot? I don't know how they're going to, what they would be willing, how, who. It's like okay, yes, it sounds good. It sounds great, right? But what do the Kings really have to offer to get into that top 4
Old
realm?
people.
And that's what I'm saying. It's old, expensive people. You guys really don't have anyone that's young and exciting and, oh my God, that guy has the potential to do this. You kind of do, but it's like it's not to the level of, can I get into the top 4 and trade for one of these generational type of players? Now, if Scott Perry is able to pull that off and trade, I don't know, Keegan and something to get into the top 4, would you guys be willing to do something like that if it means you're getting into the top 4?
Not for Caleb
one
Wilson.
Of those guys.
Not for Caleb Wilson. If we're gonna swing, we need a swing, and we need to get top 2 pick.
I don't know if that's what I'm saying.
If we're gonna swing for the fences, we need to swing and knock that shit down. If we're gonna hit it, we're gonna hit it. We're not just gonna. We need to punch a hole in that shit. Like, if we're gonna swing, we need to swing.
The problem you're gonna have in this draft is, and this is why this draft especially is gonna be real interesting, because you talk about the conundrum with Washington and Utah. Utah, an example, they have been all in on AJ DeBonsa since he was a prep player. They love AJ DeBonsa. They do not want the cash cow leaving the state of Utah. You're going to probably hear about at least 3 or 4 rumors where Utah throws multiple first rounders for the next 4 to 5 years or whatever, and they're going to throw out some crazy player. I know Ace Bailey didn't want to go to Washington. They might throw him in the package. You're going to hear about LA, the Clippers. Maybe they're trying to throw something in there. You're going to hear about other teams like Brooklyn who have nothing to lose. Oh, and they're going to do a lot of losing, so they got a bunch of picks. There's going to be, in my opinion, at least one team in the top 10 that moves up. How much, we don't know, but they're going to move up and they're going to give up an extensive package to somebody. And it's going to be interesting because it feels like in this draft, you bring up Caleb Wilson, okay? There's a big debate sparking right now with what Memphis and Chicago are going to do, because Caleb Wilson is the high risk, high reward guy. He was banged up in college, but when he played, he was a highlight reel. You kind of know already what Boozer's going to be, what his ceiling's going to be. He's not going to be flashy. He's not uber athletic, but if it all maxes out, he could be an 18, 20 point, 10 rebound kind of guy. Do you take the proven logistics, or do you take the shot in the dark trying to swing for the fences to get the best result of the best high risk, high ceiling guy out there. There's going to be some teams that are going to try to risk everything for the farm to get into that top 4. I don't know who bites, but if anybody does, you never know. But there's going to be some teams trying to throw the kitchen sink at a team like Chicago and Memphis and all those guys in the top 4.
I saw something on Twitter that I really loved. We trade number 7 for Ace Bailey, and we get 2 future Jazz picks. And then they take that and they trade up to 1.
It's possible.
I think Ace Bailey be perfect. I think that's I talk shit about the Celtics, but they had the perfect model. And now we're seeing that with the Knicks. If you can have 2 two-way wings that can really go, everything else comes easy.
The other thing, I don't mean to cut you off, Kev, but I want to bring this up. The other intriguing thing that is starting to happen here is that Darren Peterson, who did not have a great year of college at Kansas with the injuries and everything going on off the court, he came out in an SI interview and said, I was basically injured the entire time. I almost died. I was too big. I was cramping the entire time, full body cramps. I almost died playing college basketball. And now, is it starting to act like, okay, did Darren Peterson just try to put it on autopilot to get to the pros? And now it's like, well, you saw what this guy could do in high school. Like, is there going to be a team that is like, I really want Peterson, I'll take the risk? Because the idea of having 2 great guards is intriguing, and this guy could be the next Kobe, which is what some people compare him to, which is crazy. But, I mean, does Peterson, by draft night, make up enough room to, like, improve his stock to where some other team is like, I'll take the flyer. I'll worry about the injuries later?
I really don't want to draft a point guard. I think there's so many other avenues we can go, and I wouldn't be mad if we traded for Ja. It's not going to take 7.
You don't think you have to trade 7 to get
Fuck
Ja Morant?
no. Hell no.
It's 7th rounder maybe right now, the way the stock is.
It's the perfect equivalent to Brandon Ayuk. No one's going to trade for him because they know they don't want him on their team. They'll take a future first. It ain't going to be 7, but they'll take a future first for Ja Morant. And then we solve that point guard problem, and then we can go somewhere else. We're not going to get Acuff because I really, in my heart of hearts, or I think we should trade for Darius Garland. Because they're going to draft a point guard at 5. And they're not going to keep both. So I think there's ways for us outside of the draft to get better at point guard versus drafting a point guard.
The jaw fall off has to be studied one day. I mean, I don't know how you go from like the face of a team and like 3 years later you're untradeable. Nobody will trade for him right now.
As a team that sucks, what do we need, Keith? Excitement. Have you ever seen a Kings player have a shoe deal? Could you imagine
Fox had the Under Armour deal.
A 916 colorway?
Fox had the Under Armour deal.
Brother, we going, hey, that's what we need. We need to sell tickets.
The problem with
sells tickets and gives excitement. We
but
can get a Ja Morant.
The problem with Ja is, I feel like, is that every year that has gone by, I mean, even Zion has shown improvement with the diet, whatever the case may be, but there hasn't been one thing in Ja's game that he's really improved. In fact, everything's gotten worse. The athleticism, the injuries, he's not as effective in the paint anymore with the floaters and finishing around the rim. Never was a great defender. I mean, I don't know what I'm getting anymore. And he's never been a great shooter. I just don't know what the upside would be to getting him at this stage in his career when clearly he's shown that he doesn't have an interest in keeping it together. And then B, doesn't have really an interest in improving the game. Now the athleticism is kind of waning in his mid-20s. It's really sad to see.
I think he'll be a lot better in his second spot. Change of scenery is always good for some people. But, neither here nor there. The draft is a while away. There's a lot of things that can change this draft order. A lot of teams can trade. So before we sign off for the final seconds of episode 190. Toddy, do you have anything else to say about the draft?
I just think, does Scott Perry have the cojones to move up and trade somebody that you guys would not probably want to leave the Sacramento Kings, but it
Keegan
would
Murray.
be
That's the only person we can trade. Is Keegan Murray.
But that's what I'm saying. To
Hardwell, I
get
don't know.
into, if you guys could get that, if you guys could get into the top 2 for Keegan Murray and another first round pick, would you do it?
In a heartbeat.
I'll do it right now.
But what I'm saying is trading a 4 isn't going to work. Trading for 3 isn't going to work.
Yeah,
If we're going to dance with the devil and sign our future away, we need Darren Peterson.
So it has to be for the number 2 overall pick. It's not for 5. It's not for 4. It's at least 1 or 2.
5 would be good enough to get a cuff though, which is who they really, really like. I feel like if you can get in the 5 or 6 range, I think you're able to get him. Because the way I look at it, okay, no matter who's number 1, DeBonsa, more than likely Peterson, someone will take Boozer or Wilson. They'll flip-flop 3 or 4, but that's probably the order they're going to go in some form or capacity. Then it becomes, okay, you're a GM. What do you prefer? Do you want Vogler? Do you want Flemings? What about dude from Louisville? Moore, whatever his last name is, Mikael
Brown.
Mikael Brown. He had a up and down. He was another guy who was banged up in college as well. These workouts, these are going to be the most discussed, talked about workouts on every NBA podcast for the next 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Because all these guards are going to be going at it in these workouts. Because if you don't, you run the risk of falling.
I'm just saying is what do you do? You got to get rid of the bad contracts and you got to get better.
The thing about getting rid of those bad contracts, Toddy, someone's got to want them.
Somebody has to want them. And I think the only way you trade them, you can't trade them to a bad team. Because the bad team's going to be like, well, what about my young guys?
I was telling Toddy the other day, Keith, if we can be a part of a 3-teamer with the Giannis trade and get rid of one of them contracts, that'd be amazing.
The one you're most likely getting to get ready to like drop off is Levine because he's a proven scorer, a mercenary.
Well, Levine might not sign his option. I don't know a single person who's walking away from $50.3 million, but shit.
You never know with these things.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting what the Kings do. Somebody like Keith was saying is gonna move up because this draft, that top 4, like those are franchise altering players.
I mean, the Wizards said they're open to trading the pick.
Hey, phones are open.
Everyone's got one.
Everyone's got
a phone number.
Phones are open. The phone lines are open.